Well, welcome today. Again, it's tent church, right? So we're tent churching this summer, and we're just enjoying our fellowship together. Because the purpose of our time together is to have relationships, right? Just like we talked about last week, that's about the early church. Is about having relationships with one another beyond just a hey, hello, how was your week, and then walk right past somebody. It's about building relationships, and how you have that is with one another in fellowship. So today we're doing our Father's Day message, right? Because of course it's Father's Day. So I woke up this morning thinking about my dad, my earthly father, and I was thinking about some things I learned from him. So he's been gone now for 21 years. So it's been a long time since I've been with him. But I remember some really cool things about him. He was a guy of few words. He really didn't say a whole lot to anybody, even to his kids. But you knew what he meant by the way of his presence. He showed you what to do. He walked with you. He was at every ball game. He was at everything you did, no matter what it was, no matter how many hours he worked that week. My father demonstrated something that was loving and caring and just kind. And that is relationship. And so my father was not a believer, but man, there's parts of me that thinks maybe he was, but I don't know. He never professed the name Jesus Christ. But I know that he demonstrated something to me that I love to show to my kids and to my family, which is how to have a relationship with one another that is more than just, hey, how you doing? And then walk right past you. So the reality of fathers is something that is exciting. So we're going to be talking about that today. But I thought I'd start with a fun little thing. And I don't know, my daughter will relate to this whatsoever or not. But it's something that I found online, so I did not create this myself. But it's a fun little, called Musing of a Child. And it's at 4 years old, your children say, my dad can do anything. 7 years old, dad knows a whole lot. 9 years old, my dad doesn't know quite everything. 12 years old, oh well, naturally, dad does not know that either. 14 years old, dad is so out of step with reality. 20 years old, my dad is so hopelessly old-fashioned. 25 years old, dad knows a little bit about, but not much. 30 years old, I may ask what dad thinks about that. 35 years old, before we decide, let's get dad's opinion. 45 years old, I wonder what dad will think about this. 55 years old, my dad knows something about literally everything. And 65 years old, I wish I could talk it over with my dad just once more. I think that's relationships, right? That's what it means to have a family. That's what it means for Father's Day. That's what it means to have this relationship with our dads. But I tell you what, the men that I see in our congregation and around us in our relationship, in our families, our fathers we want to get to know, right? Because there's something driving them that's more than just this world. It's more than just, I want to be a good person. I want to do what's best for my family. We want to honor God with the way we walk and the way we talk. So I thought today we'd remind fathers what it means to actually be a father. And we're going to demonstrate that by looking at the Father in heaven. And so as we look at that, we're going to be going through several scriptures today. If you are a Bible quizzing maniac, you will be prepared for today to search through your Bibles. If not, I will read them aloud, so you'll be fine for today. So the first thing we're going to look at is he is a provider. So we're looking at Father in heaven, right? He is a provider. He is one who provides things for us. He is one that we can look to for our full provision. We can trust him that he will provide. And James 1:17, if you look at James 1:17, it says this: every generous act and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights. With him there is no variation or shadow cast by turning. When we look at Father in heaven, we think about that great example of what a father is one who provides for us unquestionably. who does not turn his providence from us by turning around. That every single thing we need, sometimes want, will be provided by the Father, provided it's in his will, right? And that's always something that we struggle with. Because even with our earthly fathers, we want from our fathers, but we don't always get it. Because we want something doesn't mean that we necessarily need it. But now the Father's will is perfect. And his provision is going to be in conjunction with that will, with what you need at any given time, any given moment. Now there's times where we all struggle. There's times where we have losses. There's times in those moments that we just feel like, man, could it get any worse? When the Father provides something that you didn't even expect, that you didn't even get prepared for, that is the Father's provision for us. So think about that with earthly fathers. What are we to do? Are we to give our kids everything they want? Yes, kind of. And we want to make them happy, right? We want our kids to be happy with us, so we want to provide them things. But at the same time, we need to provide them with something far more than just things. And that is assurance. As assurance that we will provide for them when they're in need. Assurance that we're going to provide them when times are tough. Assured that we're going to provide them and be with them during those very difficult times. So as earthly fathers, we must be a provider, and we must seek the Lord for our guidance on providing. Our next one is, he is a protector. Now, I'm in the right crowd for this. So like when we think about protecting our family, we usually act first and think later, because providing for our family and protecting is a way that we show our love. Now, not everybody understands this kind of love, but we, as hunter-gatherers, truly understand this reality of providing through protection. And that protection is something that our Father really gives us a great example. Because our hearts can know peace because God is love. Man, what a great understanding of what it means to be protected is that God is love and that he will never fail you. There are going to be times, I think we've all felt it, maybe even recently, where we feel like, where is God in this moment? But all it takes for us is to drop to our knees and realize, did he fail us? No. Humans will fail us. Earthly fathers, you will make mistakes big time. But our Father in heaven will never fail us. Not once, not ever. And we turn to Psalms 121:8 for this. Psalms 121:8. The Lord will protect your coming and going, both now and forever. Psalms 121:8. Now and forever. See, God is not like waiting for you to grow up and be a big kid and he'll finally start protecting you. He's going to protect you now and forever. That is the great thing about what a Father in heaven means when it comes to protection. Sure, earthly things may hurt us all. Earthly people very well may hurt us directly. But our Father in heaven will bring great things because he has not removed his hedge of protection from you. It's just sometimes we have to go through difficult things. Sometimes we go through difficult things because on the other side, something greater is waiting. So it looks like the protector, and I mentioned the hunter-gatherers that are here today, and we look at the hunter and gatherers, and we may have guns, we may have knives, we may have bow and arrows, we may have a boomerang. But whatever it is, we feel like some kind of weapon is our symbol of protection. But what it'll say is, fathers, earthly fathers, your greatest protection is your heart. Your heart for your children, your heart for your family, your heart for your wives, your heart for the people around you. That is the great protector beyond just these hunter-gatherer moments of guns, knives, boomerangs, bow and arrows. But that heart will protect your children and your family far more than any one of those weapons will. So as we look at the example of our Father in heaven being the great protector who is now and forever going to show his love for you, may our hearts be showing our love for our family and our friends around us. May we follow the Lord's example in that moment. Our next one is, he is a pilot. Now, we're not pilots necessarily. And we might be able to fly a remote control airplane. We might be able to fly a plane. We might have a license. But that's not the kind of pilot I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one who directs something, who leads you to something. See, the pilot in an airplane sits in the front seat on purpose. He's guiding and directing you to somewhere. And without that pilot, you cannot get to your destination. That is the reality why he is the pilot. See, we all want to be in control. We all want to say, oh, the Lord is in control of my life. Except when it comes to making decisions that we want to make on our own. I mean, none of you have done that, I'm sure. It's just me who has tried to take the steering wheel all by myself, and I'm going to make this happen. And see, in those moments, we forget that he is in control. That no matter how strong we try to pull on that wheel, we are not in control of those moments. We are not the pilot. It's his chair. It's his wheel. It's his time. And it's his will. So regardless of how hard we try to strive against the Lord in his being the pilot, we will fail in our attempt to guiding and directing our own lives without seeking him first. Because we try to handle ourselves. We try to take it on ourselves. Try to do everything in our own way rather than seeking him and seeking his will. We try to take it by our own hands rather than allowing him just to guide and direct us. See, it's different. We look at our lives and we think, I'm in charge of my destiny. I'm trying to use my Buzz Lightyear voice there. I'm in charge of my destiny. No. We are just joining God on this amazing journey that he has us on. So guess what? He's going to ask you to get in the game. He's not going to say, hey, just sit over there, take a nap, like my wife would when I'm driving. Just take a nap, and I'll do everything. He's saying, I am guiding you in this direction. But guess what? I may have you put gas in the plane. I may have you load the cargo. I may have you do this. So you got to think about that picture that he is the pilot, but we are his workers. And he is guiding and directing us every single day. Magically, I wish this was so true. I truly wish about that money tree. I wish there was a money tree somewhere where you just grab money off, boop, 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 and it's perfect. But that's not how life is. I'm sorry. I was going to say something, but I changed my mind. A pallet full of money didn't just fall out of the sky for us. Okay? It's not going to happen for you, and it's not going to happen for me. We have to work towards life, right? He's going to put opportunities in front of you. He's going to put jobs in front of you. He's going to put things in front of you to provide for your family. So when it comes to that reality of a pilot, we must give full control over to him. So if we turn to Proverbs 19:21, it says this, many plans are in a man's heart, but the Lord's decree will prevail. Proverbs 19:21, many plans are in a man's heart, but the Lord's decree will prevail. No matter how much you think you are in control of your life, all we're doing is leading a resistance against the Lord who truly has his heart for us, who truly is in the driver's seat, who truly is guiding this whole ship, that he is the one, and his plans will prevail. Although we may have many plans in our heart, we must give it over to him to guide and direct our lives fully. Then we look at the aspect of he is a pleased father. He is a pleased father. We don't need to wonder how he thinks. We don't need to assume what the Father thinks about us. So don't let your children wonder what you think about them. See, the Father tells us all the time, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. But as fathers, as humanly father, we're like, oh, that's a weakness. But the Father in heaven draws down on us and says, I love you. Guess what? You've done some junky stuff in your past, but guess what? I love you regardless. He doesn't leave to question or wonder where we stand in his life. He stands with us every step of the way, regardless. As humans, we seek that outward affirmation. See, it's not as easy. It's not like, if we were God, we'd just be able to put in your heart, I love you, without even saying a word. But we have to physically say that. We have to physically hug, love, care for, and provide in that way. Because showing love is more than just doing things, even though we're men and we're doers, hunter-gatherers, doers. We must express our love for our family and our friends in that way, because God is the only one that can say he loves you just by a warm embrace that you don't physically see or physically know, but you know that he loves you. And Zephaniah 3:17 says this, Yahweh your God is among you, a warrior who saves. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will bring you quietness with his love. He will delight in you with shouts of joy. He will bring you quietness with his love. It's something that I really enjoyed about that piece of passage, because the world is noisy. The world is loud. And we think about love, and we think about difficult times. It's hard to feel love sometimes. Because even in the moment where your doggonest worst day, your wife or your spouse, your husband, or your family wants to love on you and care for you, but you don't want to feel that. All you want is the world to be quiet. And the Lord is what brings that strength, that quietness, because his love for you will overcome the noise around you. So when you think about that reality of he is pleased with us, if we know that he's pleased with us, then when we're having difficult days, we may go to him, the Lord, our Father, and seek the quiet place. So, humanly, if we're being fathers, after examples of our Father in heaven, then our children should come to us and be able to seek a quiet place. Not because we're God, but because we're fathers trying to live up that example of what God has set for us. That our children should seek us and find that quiet place in our arms, next to us, just in the room with us, if we are being the examples of what God the Father has showed us to be fathers. He also is present. God the Father is present. He didn't have latchkey children. He didn't say, come and go as you please, son. See you later. The Father's just present all the time. He's just in your business, whether you want him to or not. Even in those moments, you're like, I'd rather him not be here right now. He is there. He's with us in those moments. He's with us in those difficult moments, regardless of how things are going. He is present. And we turn to Hebrews 13:5. Hebrews 13:5. Again, I told you, Bible quizzing days will really pay off in these moments. Maybe we should start that back up here at Legacy. Your life should be free from the love of money. Be satisfied with what you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you or forsake you. See, being happy with what we have is not the American way. I mean, we're Americans, so sure, life is supposed to be great. We're Americans. But what I have to have an understanding of is that all these things I have in the world, whether they're nice or not so nice, they're just things. And all the money in the world can be lost, and it won't matter. As long as I have my family, as long as I have my friends, as long as I have my church family, as long as I have the love that I feel from them, because God the Father showed them love and they show me love. You see, that is an inquenchable amount of money. It's like getting a gold bar and thinking, wow, I really hit it. It's about buying the right stock You know, if you were the guy who bought into Bitcoin long ago and then bam, now you're rich. Thank you for coming to Legacy. Let's talk later. But if you're not that guy, if you're not that lady, but you've just been enduring life, enjoying life, and not focusing on money, but focusing on what it means to provide for your family, provide for your friends, and just be present, that is an overwhelming feeling that is just, you can't quench that thirst. There's something you desire more and more and more of, that we look to one another to find presence in one another. I'll lean into my wrap up, but it won't be quick. I just figured I better say that. So you think about through those items of what it means to look to the Father in heaven for providing, protection, presence. All these different items that mean so much to us, that we can see them, we can understand them. But how would you describe God the Father? God the Father. Because now we all have a different way of describing him. Because it's whatever our last tragedy was that we went through. Whatever that last tragedy we went through and he provided, we're like, yes, God provided this for me. Well, I want to challenge you that when you think about the answer to this question of how do you describe God the Father, take away things. If you take away the things that matter so much to you or me, because things matter to me too, trust me. When we take away those things, what is it and how would you describe God the Father? I would describe him as, I'm thankful for the earthly father he gave me. So I'm thankful because of God who provided for me, even though I wasn't with him at a young age. I was just a child. He not only provided a father who cared for me, and you heard me earlier talk, about my father and how much I loved him and cared for him and what he did for me. But what you may not know is that he wasn't my biological father. I was one of 5 children and the very last child that was born because my mother had an affair. But I never knew any different from my father. My entire life, I was treated as his own. And that's the way when he went to his deathbed that we left it, that I was his. You see, when I describe God the Father, I describe God the Father as a father who provided for me in ways I can't even imagine. I think about my childhood, I think about my family life growing up, I think about, man, why did I go through all that junk? Why did I go through all that stuff? And then I remember where he has me today, with the family I have, with the friends I have, and I think, wow, I can be thankful for a father who provided for me lessons in life, fun or no fun, a father, earthly father, who gave me a great example to be the father I am today. So when I describe God the Father, I think about the people in my life. I think about my children, my grandchildren, my wife, my friends, my family. That's how I really dive deep into describing God the Father. Because the follow-up to question that is how do you describe your earthly father? It's always hard to really know an answer to that. And there's really no way for me to guide you in that answer. We're all pretty close-knit family here. But at the same time, earthly fathers do wrong things sometimes. Earthly fathers make mistakes. So some of our descriptions might come out not very nice, not very kind, maybe not a great thing to share on Father's Day. But I ask you to take a moment and think about God the Father and how you describe him. And I want you to take those moments, how you describe him, and then describe your father, earthly father, whether he carries those traits or those principles. And remember how I told you to lay those things down when you start talking about God the Father? Well, lay things down in the world, the things that maybe your dad did to you, maybe those things that happened to you, maybe the things that happen in life. Lay those things down and just look at the man. Did he honor God? Is he honoring God now? And that is the example that we look for and how we should describe our fathers. So on this day, Father's Day 2021, may we honor our Heavenly Father in the way that we love our earthly father on this day. Finally, I want to remind the earthly fathers of lots of moments that you'll have challenges. You're going to have failures. I don't care how old we are, how young we are, or how you're not a father yet. We will have challenges. We will make mistakes. We will have a hard time living up to the standard of God the Father. But as you look at your children, may you remember that the struggle is worth it. And the challenge is worth it. And my final statement before I call Sarah back up. Always remember, legacies are not born in major life moments. They are built in daily decisions to love our God. So be a legacy leaver.